Before we end, a special guest that we caught up with earlier today, here's Nidhi Goyal and her story. Well, time now to meet a very special guest on the program, the latest star, bright star on India's comedy scene. Nidhi Goyal, thanks very much for taking our time to be here today. Now,
thank you for inviting me.
Let's put aside the fact that you are, as has often been described, India's first disabled comic. Let's put that aside. But what you are doing, you are using your challenges, your disability to shake people up, to get them to realize that you're just another regular girl who wants the same things, wants to do well at her work, wants love, wants relationships, just everything that a girl your age wants. How difficult really is it?
So I think being an activist, being someone who's been working for disability rights and gender justice, I think comedy has been another tool for me to advance the space of activism, to get my messages across. And I think more than my intention more than shaking up people was more gently introducing to them and sort of through humor to make them think and reflect, because a lot of times we just start perpetuating the thoughts and stigma that exist already, or the mindsets that exist already, and we just don't question. And I think through my humor I'm just trying to make them question.
So when you go there for a performance and they introduce you, and I'm sure that they say that what sets you apart is that you cannot see. What is the reaction there from the audience, especially in the early days when this is not what they were expecting when they heard your name?
So the point is, we decided never to introduce me as someone who can't see. So it's really a surprise for the audience. The first time I performed in a comedy club, I remember that there was a shocked silence for the first 2 or 3 minutes, because there's a great sense of discomfort that suddenly a blind woman standing on the stage breaks so many ideas that are so comfortable in our head that a blind person only struggles or is a super inspiring person, right? A blind woman, not seen many. They speak,
don't know what to expect.
And they speak on the mic, and they will do comedy because they can laugh at a situation in life. We really have these ideas that they're either sort of subnormal or supernormal.
When you talk about the Indian comedy scene and you see people like yourself, part activists, part comics, trying to sort of make some real change through the work that you do, you've just chosen a different medium. There are the women that come to mind first. There's Aditi Mittal and talking about our bodies and get comfortable, men and women. There's Radhika Vaz, misogyny, come on, I'm going to make you confront it. There's Neeti Palta, there's you. What makes women really, in the comedy scene, so much at the forefront? Because that's fascinating.
I think again that comedy is a way to gently sort of challenge very, very deep set notions. I think that's one thing that brings the women to the comedy scene in the forefront. But it's also when I look at Aditi, Radhika and everyone, all the women comics, and particularly when I started performing in mainstream, I realized that behind them, before they came on stage, there has been 30, 40 years of women's rights struggle, right? That has been breaking down patriarchy, that has been challenging misogyny, that has been speaking about things. There's been a lot of media support. But it's only after those 3 or 4 decades that the women could create a space for themselves on the stage. And audience would sort of had broken down or shifted or at least melted in their fixed ideas of this male hegemony, that they accept these jokes. What I see for disabled female comics is still a long road ahead, because disability rights movement is very young as compared to the women's rights movement. We're still greatly uncomfortable with bodies that don't look like ours, that don't feel like ours.
One last question. You've come up with some fantastic quotable quotes. I think my favorite was, love is blind and so am I, get over it. Share a few more.
That was my opening line at a comedy club when I was like, one of the comedy clubs when, the first performance was uncomfortable, and then people were like, I was like, I need to get this straight at them. Right. And that's when this came. My other line, very, very favorite line of mine is people come up to me and say, hey, do you have a problem? Because like you said, we don't have a right word, right? And so people say, do you have a problem? And I turn around and I say, no, do you? And I think that really sums it up, saying that disability is not my problem. It's just one part of me. And so, yeah.
Learn to accept it. Fantastic. And more power to you and all the work that you're doing. Thanks very much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
A pleasure being there.
Thank you.